Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Hufflepuffs Are Better in the Swingers subreddit. The post is titled, "Boyfriend Might Propose Soon, but Can This Work If I'm Monogamous and He's Not?" Looking for input from people who are or have been swingers. I'm a 29-year-old woman in a 3-year relationship with a 36-year-old man. He has hinted a few times at marriage, but there is one thing holding me back. About 6 months into our relationship, he revealed to me that he and his ex-wife had tried swinging a few times, starting a year into their marriage and then a few times over the 7 years they were together. I didn't know much about the lifestyle, so I started listening to some swinger-hosted podcasts and looking into it more to see if it was a lifestyle I could ever consider. For him, he said it was an exciting, hot aspect of the relationship. There was a healthy communication, and it made them stronger and less likely to ever want to cheat. After some deep inner reflection, I realized it wasn't something I wanted for myself. There are many reasons, but one of the bigger ones is that I am asexual/demisexual. I only experience sexual attraction through deep bonds. So having sex with people with whom I don't have a strong relationship doesn't sound fun or hot to me. Also, I don't want to share my partner. So I guess I'm clearly monogamous with that kind of mindset. In bed, he began sharing more and more of his fantasy about taking me to a swingers club, and since it was during intimate moments, I went along with his fantasy and responded positively. It's natural to share fantasies in bed, and even if it's not my thing, I believe in letting my partner play out a fantasy. But he started suggesting it casually outside of the bedroom, and once I came to the conclusion that it wasn't for me, I talked with him around month 9. I shared my concern that since swinging is his one big fantasy and something he has enjoyed doing in the past, could we ever have a future where he is still satisfied if it wasn't my thing? He was very understanding and sweet and assured me that he could be happy without a swingers relationship. For a year, I felt pretty solid with his response. But as it continues to be his only fantasy that he shares in bed, it is hard for me to fully believe that he'll be happy marrying me. The other day, he started talking in bed about how he was turned on by a thought he had. I asked him to share, and he said he pictured me giving another man oral sex. I asked if he was doing anything to me in this fantasy or just watching. He said that there was another woman performing oral sex on him while I'm with the other man. I know it's his kink, but it's hard for me to hear that he's dreaming of another woman pleasuring him while he's currently having sex with me, and that this is what turned him on in the first place. He brings up swinging in about 2 out of 5 of our sexual encounters. I've had 2 previous partners, and they were more of the "you're the only one for me" kind of men, and it made me feel special. So when he does this, I end up feeling like I'm not enough. I know it's a monogamous mindset and my own insecurity. I share my insecurity about not being sexually enough for him, but I avoid saying it's because of those things he says in bed, because then he wouldn't be able to live out that kink at all, and I don't want to take that away from him. He is very open about all of the things he and his ex-wife did, and I like that he feels comfortable sharing without thinking I'll shame him or get upset. But honestly, it makes me feel lacking. He used to have threesomes, do partner swaps, and basically play out all of his biggest kinks in real life. With me, he can't. I truly love him and we're happy in every other sense. We have now lived together for a year and he wants me in his whole future. My question for anyone in the swinger community is this: if you happen to fall for a monogamous person, do you think you could be satisfied leaving the lifestyle, or would you possibly regret or resent marrying down the road? Or just any thoughts to share in general? Anything might help me work my way to a conclusion. He and his ex only did it a couple of times a year, and it wasn't a big part of their life, but a very happy one. I ask because I can't speak to it with my friends. I think they'd form a bad view of him because they are all monogamous and would probably see it as him being driven by lust and not loving or respecting me. You all have a different mindset on love and sex, and I'm hoping for any insight or suggestions on how and if this can work long term. Updating because I've had a few people in my direct messages over the months asking how it worked out, as they're in similar situations. We did break up a few months after my post. I had shown him my original post and talked with him about the uncertainty I had been feeling. His response was, "Sure, if tomorrow you told me you wanted to swing, I'd be all for it, but I don't need that in our relationship." Despite his words, over the next few months, our relationship felt off. Both of us were no longer comfortable mentioning marriage anymore, and while we were still enjoying each other's company, traveling, and doing things we loved, the love and security feeling wasn't there. I would bring up that we didn't seem as connected, but he would say it was my anxiety talking in my head. We went to a Halloween party with our friends who are all in their 30s to 40s and have been married anywhere from 5 to 15 years. The couple hosting the party were in their mid-30s with 3 kids. At the party, the husband, I'll call him Trey, started flirting heavily with all the women. He was very drunk and was being very touchy-feely. This was extremely unusual behavior for him. His wife, who I'll call Kayla, seemed a bit embarrassed but was also giving us the okay with what was going on. We could tell to some degree they must be opening up their relationship in some way. Towards the end of the night, Trey began to make out heavily with a woman in the corner of the pool who had been invited by them, but whom the rest of us had never met before. Her husband was socializing nearby, but knew what was happening, so we all just shrugged it off as consenting adults and whatnot. However, when Kayla came outside, it became obvious she wasn't okay with what she saw. She and Trey disappeared from their own party for a while, and we all wondered if we might need to head home and give them privacy. They came outside though, and we could tell Kayla wasn't okay. Trey started apologizing publicly to everyone and said, "We've gotten into swinging, but it's very new for us. Kayla and I promised we would not do things with others without one of us clearly giving the okay. We invited this couple over tonight with potential plans of going further with them. I messed up and started initiating deeper while Kayla was inside the house, unaware and not present." Kayla privately later apologized to us, saying she had not planned on our group knowing they were swinging and had wanted to keep it private. So when Trey had started flirting with everyone and being touchy-feely in general, she had felt embarrassed that we were all so thrown off at this party she had hosted for us. Then, when she had come outside to him already initiating with the couple they had invited, it had broken the boundaries she had set with him. I left the party upset for her. In my mind, Trey had cheated by breaking that boundary and in front of everyone who she had not wanted to know about their open relationship. This is her one friend group, and I could understand not wanting to share that part of their lives with us since most of the group is monogamous. My boyfriend's response was, "Yeah, he messed up, but this is new for him and it's like a kid in a candy shop." I mentioned to him how he had once said that a benefit of swinging was being less likely to have cheating in a relationship. But to me, this felt like cheating because if you set a boundary and break it with another person, that counts. It was a tense ride home. The next time we had sex, in the middle of it, he started bringing up me kissing Kayla and then him kissing Kayla. I didn't want to bring up that this upset me while having sex because I just didn't know how. So I brought it up an hour afterward, saying that him bringing up Kayla didn't feel right, especially after how that party had gone. He didn't argue about it and said okay, but I could see from his shut down facial expression that he wasn't happy with my response. The next time we saw Trey and Kayla, they had the couple from the party over at a board game night. It looked like they had worked things out, and I was happy for them. They were very flirty and kissing the other couple, and while it was still strange and new to see, I was happy they were happy. I was having a fun time with everyone, but I could tell my boyfriend was very moody and everyone kept asking him if he was okay. In the middle of a board game I had just started up with some friends, he came in and interrupted very moodily. "You ready to go?" On the car ride home, I asked what was up and he was pretty shut down. It clicked with me that he was jealous of the swinging happening in front of him. When I asked if that's what it was, he said, "I wouldn't say jealous." I asked what he would say. He said he'd get back to me on it when he could put it into words. So I dropped it for then. But a few days passed and he wasn't showing signs of opening the conversation, and my anxiety started to grow until finally I brought it up again. He said, "It's just hard to see what I can't have right in front of me." To which I responded, "It's hard for me to see you mad and moody about it, because I know I'm the reason why. I'm the one keeping you from it. You say I'm enough, but then you do things that make me feel like I'm not really." Please be honest with me. He went back to saying I was and that it was my anxiety talking. I asked what we could do to make our relationship work better because this wasn't working. He mentioned I could initiate more in bed. I could understand that. While I'm a very responsive partner who has never turned down sex, I am not often the initiator. So I tried doing that, and he turned me down on 5 separate occasions for reasons like, you just vaped and I don't like vaping because it leaves a sweet artificial taste in your mouth. Or, I'm stressed with work. There was one night he was masturbating in the shower and I asked if I could join and he said he'd come to the bed, but I said I'd just get in the shower with him, but he said he wasn't interested in shower sex, so never mind. I could get his reasons, but it left me vulnerable because initiating has always been hard for me, and to keep getting turned down after he'd asked me to try it more was hard. Then one night he said, take charge, do whatever you want with me, don't be shy about it, whatever you want to do to me, just do it. I started giving him oral sex, but stalled because I was panicking in my head about what he wanted, as I felt like he was looking for me to do something particular. I have never been super shy in bed, so when he said those words, I felt like he was hoping for something new or different in particular. Climbing on top and doing basic dirty talk didn't seem like enough for what he was asking. I stopped to tell him because I'd never felt panicked during sex like this. I said, hey, I know you want me to take charge, but is there something specific you'd like? He got frustrated and said, just be dominating like I do for you. Well, what he does for me is choking, ass smacking, and name calling. But he has never expressed interest in that for himself, and I didn't think that's what he actually wanted. So I asked, is there a video of what you want from me or specifics? Because I don't want to dominate it without knowing what you mean. He let out a frustrated sigh and said, never mind. I felt pretty crestfallen as a people pleaser and said I was going to go get some air real quick. I went downstairs and went to Reddit to search how to dominate your man to get ideas and give myself a pep talk. I came back upstairs and heard him in the shower, so I opened the door to hop in and give it a go and realized he'd already masturbated after I'd left. I awkwardly got out of the shower and cursed myself for awkwardness. Looking back, I can't help but laugh at myself trying to make it work with the wrong person. Let's just jump forward to the breakup because this post is already so long. I sat him down and said, we're disconnected and not okay lately. You say you want me, but I don't feel that from you, so I get the feeling you don't know what you want. He admitted he wasn't sure and needed time, so I said, after 3 years, if you don't know, that's the answer I need. I know we love each other, but we need to break up. This isn't it. He looked stunned. He began crying hard and asked me to stay in the same bed that night to hold me one last time. He cried the whole night while I comforted him, and he kept saying, I know it isn't fair for you to have to comfort me like this, but thank you because I need you right now. He also said things like, I've been an idiot because I thought some things were important, and then this happens and I see what's actually important. He began asking for another chance, and I said I wasn't sure I could give that because I'd lost trust in his love for me. He said he'd prove it back with time. Well, in under a month, he said in bed, this month we're doing anal and we're going to a sex club. I was cool with part 1, but not so much part 2, but gave him the benefit of the doubt that the second part was his fantasy in bed since he knew my limits at this point. But he brought it up again the next time we were in bed and I stopped him and said, we are at the weakest point of our relationship that we've ever been, and you really want to bring a sex club with other people into the mix. It finalized for me the ending of us, and I'm so glad I did. Looking back, I can't believe I stayed as long as I did because while he has the right to want what he wants, it was clear he wasn't being honest with himself. He wants to be a swinger and that's okay. Just don't date a monogamous person and pretend otherwise. It was just hurting us both. I definitely grew from it because it made me realize what I wanted and needed in someone too. A year has passed and I'm so happy and in love with the right person. My anxiety has magically disappeared, go figure. I feel like enough as a partner in every way. He's lighthearted, easy as breathing, and would do anything to make me happy. Which is great because I'm a giver too. So we never run the risk of using each other. He cherishes me and I cherish him. And I didn't even know love could be this awesome. It's corny, I know. But for anyone out there wondering if you're with the right person, if you have to keep wondering and if you always feel like you're not enough, please be brave enough to leave what you know and go be happy elsewhere. Icy Paleontologist said OP doesn't seem to have commented on it, but it is pretty weird how the guy goes on and on about how great swinging was and how close it made him with his ex-wife. It did not save that relationship and will not save the next. To this comment, Can I Have a Song said, yeah, I'll bet the ex-wife has a really different story of how swinging affected their relationship. Child of Crow said, she keeps talking about him and his ex having great communication and doing all of this great stuff. So why is she an ex? Why did they break up if they had such great communication? I'm glad she got the heck out of this. This guy was a skeezy jerk. To this, Admirable Cattle said, very relevant information. He was either delusional or lying about his ex the whole time. This next post was made in the AITA subreddit by a user named SteppingMac. The post is titled, I don't want my half-brothers to come on a trip with my uncle and I. I am 15 years old and I have 3 older half-brothers, twins Max and Jake, who are 18, and Shane, who is 16. We share the same mother, but they have a different father. Max, Jake, and Shane's father is very involved in their lives and they live with him every other week. On the other hand, I have a deadbeat absent father whom I never see. I have no relationship with my half-brother's father. My half-brothers definitely do not treat me the same way they treat each other. I have friends who have older brothers who are supportive, hang out with them, and are there for them, but mine are nothing like that. Often, when Max, Jake, and Shane are at their dad's, I spend the weekend with my uncle, my mom's brother. Because of that, my uncle and I are very close. One of the things we do together is watch NASCAR since he has made me a fan. It's our thing. As far as I know, my half-brothers don't watch NASCAR. I have never watched a race with them, at least. Next week, Max, Jake, and Shane were supposed to be at their dad's. My uncle was going to take me to the NASCAR race in Atlanta that weekend, just him and me. However, my brother's dad has had to go away on a business trip, I guess, meaning they aren't going to their dad's next week. Since they'll be here, my uncle also invited them to come to the Atlanta race with us. I don't want them to come. When they went to Europe, Florida, skiing, New York, or any of the other trips they take with their dad, I don't get invited. They go away with him 2 or 3 times a year. I've never been away because my mom can't afford it. This will actually be my first time on a plane. They get everything. This was one thing I had, just my uncle and me, and he just invited them. Since they're going, I no longer want to go, and I'm considering telling my uncle that tomorrow. When he told me they were coming, he could see I wasn't happy. He knows how I feel about my relationship with them. But he said since they're home, he can't not invite them. It wouldn't be fair. But it's not my fault their dad is going away. I know my uncle can't uninvite them now, so I really think I just prefer to stay home and not go. Would I be the asshole if I told my uncle I don't want to go and instead stayed home? Update. After reading the comments, I realized it wasn't my place to ask my uncle not to invite my brothers, as he is also their uncle. Also, if I chose not to go, it would just be denying myself something I really wanted to do and would upset my uncle, which I didn't want. So I decided to go to the NASCAR race. I also decided against saying anything further at that time. The days before we left, it felt like my brothers were being nicer than usual, so that was cool. They added me to their group chat so that it would be easier to keep in contact on the trip. I roomed with one of my older brothers, Max, in the hotel. On Saturday, we went to the racetrack for the first races. I was getting food when I accidentally cut the line. Someone pointed it out to me and I went to the right spot in line. There was a guy in line who was super mad, going on about how I was a little asshole and only apologized because I got caught. He walked up to me yelling. Then Max appeared and told the guy to calm down and stop yelling at me. The guy kept yelling at me, and Max stood between me and the guy and told him, if you say another thing to my little brother, we're going to have a problem. The guy finally backed off. I've never seen Max as mad as he was right then over that guy yelling at me, and it meant a lot the way he jumped in. Back in our hotel room that night, I was thanking Max again for standing up for me earlier, and he told me that as his brother, he'd always do that for me. It seemed like the right moment, so I finally took the advice and opened up to him. I told him that I wished me, him, Jake, and Shane hung out more together, and that I'd like doing more stuff with him and them. We talked for a long time about our relationship. Max then talked to Shane and Jake because the next day, they both apologized for me having felt left out as well. When we flew back home, Max had told Jake more of what I had said. Jake and I went out on Tuesday and talked about it a bunch, and he kept apologizing for letting me down. I told him it was probably mutual and that I didn't act like I wanted to spend time with them, but he told me he was my big brother and should have been better. We've all agreed to do better going forward. It's kind of funny that it was a drunk guy yelling at me, which got me to open up in the end. A deleted user said, "Jesus Christ, I teared up. Being an affair baby must really suck." Alyeska23 said, "This one has a lot of feelings. OP is not at fault here, and neither are his brothers. OP's parents are the primary antagonists of this story for mistakes they made 15 years earlier. It would be nice if OP's brother's father would also do things for OP, but I can very much see why he won't do such things. I really hope OP and his brothers can fully rebuild their relationships together. OP needs a strong family to support him." Amateur Biotic said, "I love how this turned out. Props to these teenage guys, NASCAR-loving teenage guys. Young men being honest about their feelings is impressive. That last commenter though, abusive parents suck. If I had kids, I would treasure them. I never felt financially stable enough to start a family." This final story was made in the same subreddit by a user named Galaxy Garlic. The post is titled, "I reported my coworker for cheating in the walking competition. At our last company meeting, they announced that there would be a step competition. Participation was voluntary. If the average number of steps is greater than or equal to 5,000 per day, all participants get a Friday half day. The person with the most steps overall wins an Apple Watch. We would log our steps during work days only for 20 days. I have been in a funk lately and was glad for an excuse to get back into my fitness routine. I love running and asked if steps from running could be counted. Matt, who volunteered to manage the competition, said they did. My goal was 20,000 steps a day, thinking this would easily put me in the lead, but on day one, this guy Dave posted 23,000. I sent him a message on Teams saying something along the lines of, "It's on." The next day, I put up 24,000. He answered back with 25,000. Another coworker, Jenna, also joined in. The three of us started having daily chats about our workouts. By week 2, it was looking certain one of us would win, and the whole group was absolutely getting a half day off work. Then I checked the log, and out of nowhere, Tiffany, who had been posting 10 to 15,000 per day, posted 65,000 steps. For perspective, a marathon I ran resulted in 52,000 steps. So I was skeptical, but also thought maybe Tiffany ran a casual ultra marathon on a work day. Who knows? I sent her a Teams message. "That's a lot of steps. What's your secret?" She said she plays volleyball and wanted to count the steps from her games, but can't safely keep her phone or watch on her to keep count. To solve this problem, Matt looked up a chart online that gives a step equivalent for other activities. For example, volleyball equals 89 steps per minute, tennis equals 133 steps per minute, etc. Fair enough, but the math still didn't add up, so I said, "Wow, you must have played for like 8 hours. Her reply, "Well, I also rode my bike." Now this is where I called bullshit, so I clarified, "You counted riding your bike?" Turns out she didn't just use the chart for volleyball, she used it to count everything she did and convert it into steps. Bike riding, stretching, yoga, washing the dishes, all great, but those are not steps. This seemed pretty lame to me, and I just said, "I don't think that's really in the spirit of this competition." I immediately went to Matt to ask about this chart, specifically if bike riding counted towards steps. He said bike riding didn't count. It was too different and also unfair since not every employee has access to a bike. I thanked him for clarifying and told him that Tiffany might also need some clarification. Not 2 minutes later, I got this message from Tiffany. "Really? You complained about me? That's actually not in the spirit of the competition. I lost a pet recently and have been so depressed. I've been struggling to lose weight and I was so proud of my steps from yesterday. Not everyone can be a marathon runner like you. Really uncool." I knew I was being a little cheeky going to Matt, but Tiffany's message really took me by surprise. Am I the asshole? Update. So the feedback on my last post made me feel like less of an asshole for sure, but what happened next definitely got rid of any remaining guilt I may have had. Tiffany won the steps competition. After I spoke with Matt, he tried to clear things up with Tiffany, but in his words, she was combative and rude, so he ended up looping in our human resources representative, Jill. Jill decided that Tiffany could keep her 65,000 steps and the rules would just be clarified for everyone going forward. Well, going forward, Tiffany continued to post 35 to 40,000 steps every single day. Less ridiculous than 65,000, but still ridiculous considering we all sit at desks 8 hours a day. It was still a tight race between the four of us because we, Dave, Jenna, and I had been posting higher than Tiffany prior to the 65,000 step day. Then Dave got sick. He only posted 4,000 one day, and that was enough for him to fall too far behind. Then I had something urgent and time-consuming come up at work and only got 10,000 steps that day. That was enough for me to fall too far behind too. So it was basically up to Jenna at that point, and she was really working for it. She even got up at 4 a.m. the last couple of days of the competition to try and max out steps. The highest she ever got to was about 41,000, and in the end, Tiffany beat her by about 250 steps overall. Tiffany had zero issue happily accepting her award at the next company-wide meeting and gave this super annoying speech about how everyone did so great, and how in the end, she's just glad we all became more active and healthy. I never responded to the message she sent me about being depressed about her dog or whatever. At the end of the day, this is my job, and I'm not trying to get into some messy and weird fight over an Apple Watch and an extra 4 hours on a Friday. Overall Search said, I have no idea who thought a work competition with flexible rules was a good idea. Honor systems only step on the honorable. Dancing in Hyrule said, if things like doing the dishes and cleaning were suddenly fine, then I would have just added that on top of my actual steps. If we are playing a cheating game, I will cheat. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.